A quiet street, a villa sealed behind high walls. Inside, a man refreshes his laptop. He believes he is hidden. He believes he is untouchable. Then, outside, metal screeches. A car slams into the front gate. A staged accident. Panic. Confusion. He rushes out to see. In that instant, agents strike. He's taken down, while his laptop sits unlocked, logged in, and wide open. This was the climax of a manhunt that spanned years and crossed continents. The man in custody, later identified as Alexander Casas, would be accused of running the largest black market the internet had ever known. A hidden empire trading drugs, weapons, stolen data, and millions in cryptocurrency. Days later, he was found dead in his cell. Weeks later, two of the world's biggest dark web markets were gone. You don't need to be a hacker to understand this story. Think of the dark web as a hidden layer of the internet, a place you can't reach with Google or Bing. Instead, you need special software like Tor that masks your location and identity. Imagine it as a maze of locked doors. Behind each door are communities, forums, and marketplaces. Some are harmless. Some are even valuable places where journalists, activists, or whistleblowers can speak without fear of being tracked. In countries with heavy censorship, that anonymity can mean survival. But the same tools that protect the vulnerable also shelter the dangerous. Inside those hidden markets, buyers and sellers meet in complete secrecy. They use encrypted chat. They pay in cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or Monero. No names, no banks, no paper trail. What started as an experiment in online privacy quickly changed. It became a playground for crime. Drugs, stolen credit cards, counterfeit IDs, malware, even weapons. Almost anything could be listed for sale and shipped worldwide. To most people, the dark web feels like a shadowy rumor, a place you've heard about but never seen. To law enforcement, it is something else entirely, a battleground, one where every click, every transaction, every login might be evidence, or it might vanish forever. This is the world where the so-called Phantom King built his empire, a world where secrecy wasn't just a feature, it was the foundation. In late 2014, a new marketplace appeared in the hidden corners of the internet. Its name was AlphaBay. At first glance, it looked almost ordinary, a search bar, neat categories, seller ratings. But this was no ordinary store. It was e-commerce reimagined for the shadows. AlphaBay grew fast. Within months, it became the largest marketplace of its kind. Hundreds of thousands of registered users, tens of thousands of vendors. Each day, hundreds of thousands of dollars moved through the site. By some estimates, AlphaBay was handling more traffic than even the Silk Road had at its peak. The menu of goods was almost endless. Heroin, methamphetamine, fentanyl, counterfeit credit cards, entire databases of stolen logins, malware kits designed to break into personal computers and corporate networks, fake passports, and driver's licenses that could pass a casual inspection. There were even vendors offering professional services like laundering dirty cryptocurrency into clean cash. AlphaBay's system was simple. Sellers listed products, buyers paid in Bitcoin or Monero. The site held the money in escrow until the deal was complete, then took a commission, a steady slice of every illegal sale. For criminals, it was safer than meeting face-to-face. For Alpha02, it was incredibly profitable. In just a few years, AlphaBay wasn't just another dark website. It was the hub, the empire, the largest illegal marketplace the internet had ever seen. And at the center of it all stood the man who would soon be known as the Phantom King. Online, the man behind AlphaBay went by a simple name, Alpha02, later identified as Alexander Casas. At times, he switched handles, blurred his digital trail, and hid behind layers of anonymity. But even the most careful leave traces, and for him, one slip was all it took. Investigators uncovered that mistake in the smallest of places. A system-generated welcome email from AlphaBay's earliest days. Buried in the metadata was a personal Hotmail address. Tiny oversight cracked open the mystery. The email tied back to old forum posts, written years before AlphaBay even existed, posts about technology, coding, viruses. At the bottom, one name appeared, Alexandre Casas. Casas was Canadian, born in 1991. By his mid-20s, he was living far from home in Bangkok, Thailand. On paper, he was a software developer with his own company. In reality, his sudden wealth was hard to ignore. Investigators traced villas in his name, luxury cars worth millions, even a mansion in the Thai countryside, all signs of a man who believed he was untouchable. Step by step, agencies pieced together his life. They followed his PayPal accounts. They dug through LinkedIn and Facebook, they found connections to a Thai fiancé, multiple properties, and evidence of lavish spending. Each breadcrumb led back to the same conclusion. The elusive Alpha-02 and Alexandra Kazes were one and the same. The phantom king of the dark web finally had a face, and for investigators, the hunt was about to turn personal. Once investigators had a name, they didn't strike immediately. They knew one wrong move could send Alexandra Kazes underground forever. So they slowed down, they planned, they built an operation that stretched across borders. It wasn't just the FBI or the DEA, it was Europol. It was Dutch investigators. It was the Royal Thai Police. Agencies from 7 countries linked arms in one of the largest cybercrime manhunts ever staged. The strategy had 2 parts. First, bring down AlphaBay. Second, prepare a trap for the flood of dealers and buyers who would scramble to find a new home once it vanished. Timing would be everything. While the US team focused on AlphaBay, the Dutch quietly made their move on another site, Hansa Market. They didn't shut it down. Instead, they took it over, secretly, silently. For weeks, Hansa ran under police control. Every transaction logged, every message captured, every slip recorded. The users had no idea. They thought they were safe. They thought they had escaped. Then came the perfect handoff. AlphaBay was cut off, and just as expected, its users scattered. Thousands fled to Hansa. Dealers moved their listings. Buyers made new accounts, and all of them walked straight into a trap. That synchronized strike would later be named Operation Bayonet. It wasn't just a takedown. It was a rare moment where law enforcement outplayed the dark web at its own game. July 5th, 2017. Just outside Bangkok, the trap was set. Thai police stood ready. The FBI and DEA watched close. Months of planning had led to this single morning. The strategy was simple but risky. They needed Alexander Kazes outside, away from his computer, because if his laptop was shut or encrypted, it could all be over. Years of work lost in an instant. So they staged chaos. A gray Toyota rolled into the narrow street. Metal screeched as it slammed against the front gate. The noise echoed through the cul-de-sac. Neighbors turned their heads. Confusion spread. Inside, Alexander Kazes heard the crash. He rushed out, just as planned. The moment his feet hit the driveway, agents struck. Thai officers swarmed in. He tried to retreat, maybe to dash back to his machine, but it was too late. He was taken down, right there, outside his villa. Then came the critical part. Investigators stormed inside. In the bedroom, there it was, his laptop. Open, awake, logged into the AlphaBay server. It was the break they had feared might never come. On that computer sat passwords, admin panels, and the digital keys to AlphaBay itself. With the laptop unlocked, Alpha-02's empire was no longer sealed. That single window of access gave investigators everything they needed to take control of the world's biggest black market. In the days after the arrest, authorities moved fast. They froze bank accounts. They seized villas, condos, and luxury cars, Lamborghinis, Porsches, and more. They secured millions in cryptocurrency wallets tied directly to AlphaBay's profits. In Washington, prosecutors unsealed an indictment. The charges read like a catalog of federal crimes: racketeering, narcotics distribution, money laundering, identity theft. Each allegation traced back to Alexander Kazes. Each one linked to the empire he had built in the shadows. But the courtroom battle never came. 1 week after his arrest, while in Thai custody and awaiting extradition, Alexander Kazes was found dead in his cell. Thai officials called it an apparent suicide. The sudden death closed the case against him before trial could begin. For law enforcement, it was a bitter mix of victory and loss. The mastermind was gone, but the marketplace remained under investigation. Servers had been seized, transaction logs preserved, digital trails traced to thousands of buyers and sellers. The hunt for AlphaBay's users and its partners was only just beginning. When AlphaBay suddenly vanished, its users did what they had always done. They scattered, and many landed on the next biggest marketplace, Hansa. What they didn't know was that Dutch investigators were already there. For weeks, police had been secretly running Hansa from behind the curtain. Every login, every chat, every Bitcoin transaction, all of it recorded, all of it preserved. For nearly a month, unsuspecting dealers listed their products. Buyers placed their orders. Conversations about shipment payments and scams flowed as usual. And in the background, law enforcement traced traced it all, building a detailed map of one of the internet's busiest criminal bazaars. The result was extraordinary. Thousands of leads, names, addresses, cryptographic trails stretching across Europe, North America, and beyond. Arrests followed. So did the dismantling of distribution networks that had thrived under AlphaBay's shadow. Then came the reveal. On July 20th, 2017, the U.S. Department of Justice stepped forward. In a single announcement, they confirmed what the dark web community had already suspected: AlphaBay was gone. Hansa, too, had been seized. Both markets had fallen in one coordinated strike. It was the most significant blow ever delivered to the online drug trade, a rare moment when global law enforcement stayed a step ahead and made it public. The takedown of AlphaBay and Hansa made headlines around the world, and for good reason. Law enforcement had dismantled the largest criminal marketplace ever seen online. They seized millions in assets. They shut down pipelines for drugs, weapons, and stolen data. And they built cases that reached from small-time dealers to international suppliers. By any measure, it was a landmark victory. But victories on the dark web are rarely permanent. The technology itself, Tor, encryption, cryptocurrency, doesn't disappear when one site falls. And neither does the demand. Buyers still want drugs. Sellers still want profits. The marketplaces simply regroup. New names, new designs, new safeguards against the mistakes of the past. For a time, AlphaBay was gone. Its users scattered. Competitors filled the void. Then, in 2021, the name returned. This time under the control of an administrator known only as D-Snake. He claimed to have rebuilt AlphaBay stronger, harder to penetrate, impossible to take down the same way twice. Whether or not that claim holds, the message is clear. Closing one site is not the end of the story. The dark web shifts, mutates, and rebuilds. Law enforcement wins battles, but the larger war, the global demand that drives these markets, continues. The Phantom King of the dark web was gone, but the shadows he ruled never truly disappeared. This story isn't just about one man or one marketplace. It's about something larger, the uneasy balance between tools that protect privacy and the people who twist those same tools to cause harm. Tor, encryption, cryptocurrency. Each was designed with legitimate purposes. Each offers value to journalists, activists, and ordinary citizens who want safety online. But in the wrong hands, the very same technology can shield a billion-dollar black market. It's also a story about fragility. For all the secrecy, all the layers of encryption, one small mistake was enough to unravel an empire. A forgotten email header, a traceable handle, a few careless posts, tiny cracks that investigators widened until the entire operation collapsed. And it's a story about the chase law enforcement and technology locked in a game that never really ends. Markets rise, investigators adapt, markets fall, then they rise again, learning from the last takedown. Harder to detect, harder to penetrate. The Phantom King was unmasked. His name is public record. The empire he built is gone, but the forces that created it remain. Demand, anonymity, and untraceable money. Together they guarantee that something like AlphaBay will always try to exist again. The hunt continues, and the question we are left with is not whether the dark web can be erased. It can't, but how we as a society choose to balance privacy, safety, and justice in a world where entire economies can hide behind a single anonymous login.